Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 7 pod of the FPL Wire, powered by DreamSetGo. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined, as always, by my buddy, Big Man Bakar. How's it going, buddy?
Thanks for having me on, Zoph. Decent game week, 49 points. Not too much to talk about, honestly. My moves were successful. I got in Sar and Antonio for Ferran and Bamford. That worked out fairly well, but it's overall an average score, and I haven't really made any gains or lost too much ground. So it's nothing. It's not a game week which will stay long in the memory. What about you, Pranil?
Sar goal, by the way, was so frustrating as a non-owner. He got nothing that
Agreed.
entire game, and then the man scores off a bloody corner. I'm like, come on! I've avoided people getting star points for so long, and that happens. Pretty average game week. I got 48 -4. It would have been much worse if I was on Ronaldo captain. Thankfully, I was on Salah captain, but feeling very, very hard done by because FPL has become so competitive that you have very few opportunities to make grounds on your competition. And I wanted to pull closer to both of you, but couldn't because Salah decided to miss two of the big opportunities that he had. I thought he switched off a little after he scored his 100th goal because it was sort of like a landmark goal. So would have been nice to get maybe 7-8 points more there. That's all. But no complaints. Probably going to be wildcarding. I think like you, Bakar, on Saturday. Looking forward to that.
Okay. That's great. I hope I hold my horses
Hold
till
it
till Saturday
Saturday.
because I'm because
Bakar will
because
call
I'm
you on
not sure whether
Friday,
I can.
Saturday,
I'll be
Sunday, Monday,
because
Tuesday. I'm wildcarding.
because every single day of the week I'm tempted to wildcard, and this has been going on for the past month or so now, honestly. And I don't know how I've held off. I mean, I've shown a remarkable amount of restraint. You can ask Zoph, and he's going to testify to the fact that this has been a very hard process for me. But thankfully, I mean, I'm happy with my team still, and I think if everything goes well, I'll hold off for another week.
Keeping things wild every day for the last 30 days and managing to hold off is an admirable quality, Bakar.
Oh, shut up.
But you, Zoff, how's your week?
Decent 50 points, small green arrow, Ronaldo captain. I was quite surprised he wasn't on penalties, but shout out to Emmy Martinez. That was elite shithousery. I've never seen something like that. Somebody's taking a penalty, pointing to the other guy, then make him take it.
I'll tell you what, even as a United fan, I wasn't too pissed off watching that. I genuinely wasn't. I thought that was admirable. I thought it was awesome. I was okay with that miss also because we didn't deserve to get anything out of that game. We'll talk about that when we talk about the United performance. So yeah, it was brilliant with Emmy, and I wouldn't back anybody to score against him. The shit he just gets into the opposition's head so badly. He's done that to Messi as well. So
Cool. Let's
yeah.
kick off. Sponsors first. DreamSetGo is a global portal for fans to gain access to sporting events around the world. Accommodation, flight tickets, hospitality, stadium visits, everything can be tailored exactly to your requirements. They also do celebrity experiences, which include masterclasses with your favorite sports celebrity or something as simple as birthday shoutouts. You can find links to the products in the description below. They're also tying up with some top notch Premier League clubs, which we will announce shortly.
Also, we're affiliated with Fantasy Football Scout. All the stats that you see on the pod are from the FFS members area. If you aren't a member already, click on the link in the description below and become a member. We've also started Patreon since a year. If you want to support us, just log on to patreon.com/the FPL Wire. All of our content is going to remain free. This is just to support us and uh, give us some money so that we can upgrade the production value that we provide to you.
Cool. Let's get started.
Right. Who do we have first off?
Chelsea Man City, unfortunately, it was a horrible game. I think Tuchel got his team selection quite wrong. He should have played Havertz with Mount not playing. City completely smothered our midfield. We had no form of attacking threat whatsoever. Let's talk about it from an FPL standpoint. Not really much to gain from this game. A lot of people are worried about Alonso losing his spot on the back of this performance. I think nobody in the team covered themselves in glory. I think bar Mendy. So you can't really say this guy had a poor performance, this guy had a bad performance. Not much. Everything is as it is.
Do you think Alonso keeps his spot though going forward?
Now, this is an interesting question. That I think there's more to discuss in this. Now, let's earlier before this game, I went on Breakfast Club and Mark had brought in Alonso. So we were discussing what would make him confident that Alonso would be starting for Southampton. So we discussed if Chelsea win against Man City and let's say Chilwell starts against Juventus, Alonso probably starts. But now I think it's a bit trickier. I think our
Yeah.
first choice team now plays against Juventus after a loss, right? You can't take a risk of two back-to-back losses or two back-to-back drop points. I think our strongest 11 goes out against Juventus. So I think that's an indicator. If you see Chilwell in that starting 11, it's a bit of a cause for concern.
Yeah, I think that there's more cause for concern if Chilwell is starting the Juventus game rather than if Alonso is starting the Juventus game.
Correct. Absolutely spot on. But that being said, I think against Southampton, also you will see the first choice 11 because there also we need 3 points before the international break, having played quite poorly in the home game before that. Your thoughts, LR?
I think Chilwell will be given a chance very soon. And what happens, I think it's going to depend on what Chilwell's performance is like in that game in which he's given a chance. If he shows some spark, we know he's a quality player. So it depends on how he performs in that game, I reckon. I'm with you that, I wouldn't worry too much about the sort of performance that Alonso did have against City. It was City and they were pressing monsters in that game. That front four, front five were all over your defense in that, especially in that first half. So no time to breathe. But I am less bullish on Alonso today compared to last Tuesday. I can say that if I'm wildcarding today, I don't know if I would have Alonso in my team, and if I'm having Alonso in my team, I'd make sure that I have 3 or 4 other playing defenders for sure. I actually want to ask you about Christensen, Utkarsh, because he's a little bit of a he does tend to accrue bonus points as well. He's 5 million. He's not played only one game. At 5 million, I think that's great value. Should more people be considering him?
I guess the good thing is very rarely he's going to get subbed on. So I think if you have a good sub with him along with Ben White, there's not Ben White, or you can even throw in a Livramento. They're pretty good sub options. So I don't think Christensen is a bad option at all. It's just let's say he would start 7 out of 10 games, where Rudiger would start 9 out of 10 games. I would say
Correct.
that's where
Now,
there's a
this
trade-off
is it
is.
because a lot of people are on wildcard, and I think there's room for perhaps one defensive punt at best because I look at a lot of people, they're considering the likes of Christensen, Alonso. Cancelo is first choice, but we know Pep likes to rotate a lot. So considering we were on wildcard, I'd pick one at max from the likes of Cancelo, Christensen, Alonso, because I think picking more than one will be going a bit overboard. I think at least one of them is worth the risk, given the fact that Livramento is likely to be on our wildcards, and from game week onwards, he has really good fixtures: Leeds, Burnley, Watford, Villa, Norwich. And I think he's more than an able filler should one of the guys you pick get benched.
Bakar, let me ask a question. Let's say you're wildcarding today. Let's say Trent is occupying one spot. Let's say Livramento is
Yeah.
occupying one spot. What would the other 3 spots be?
I'd probably go with Cancelo, Rudiger, and the last spot I'd probably pick White. That's how I would go.
So
You
back
wouldn't
three.
double up on either Chelsea or City.
I want one of the Chelsea fullbacks, but the problem is I'm not sure who is nailed. I mean, Reese is probably going to be back in 2 weeks' time as well, 2 to 3 weeks' time. So I love Diaz, but that's going to take a lot of cash out of the team. So that's a bit of a kind of consideration. I would rather have Diaz rather than a Chelsea fullback, though, because I'm not sure about the security of starts.
What you, Zoph?
It's interesting because I think Cancelo's a strange one. You look at his numbers, they're not that great. In terms of attempted assists, I think he's close to 8. Diaz is close to 5, 6. There's not much there. And both his assists have been from block shots. It's not actually a chance he's created that has been converted. So I'm not entirely convinced he has that much upside over Diaz. I think
He scored in the UCL also, right? If I'm not mistaken, he got a goal or assist in the Champions League as well in that game against Leipzig. If
I
I'm
don't
not
remember. But
mistaken.
yeah, I think he
Yeah.
has definitely upside, but then it becomes tricky. If you want today a defender, you'd say, and they made a good point of this in FPL surgery, if Alonso plays 30 plus games, he probably even outscores the likes of Trent. So in terms of upside, Alonso has more upside than Cancelo.
I'll tell you where I'm gone a little cold on Alonso though, and this is something a good friend of ours, AK, and everybody on the Chelsea forums, they were legit saying that wait for Alonso to drop a poor performance. It's not far away. It's almost like the Chelsea fans on that forum were expecting Alonso to drop a poor performance. That said, the run of games that uh, you guys have henceforth, if Alonso is first choice, also the worry in my head would be that then if he's first choice, he's probably going to be playing all the Champions League games, because the league games that you have look fairly comfortable on paper, and I wouldn't put past Tuchel. He doesn't need to play one fullback on that side in every game, right? He can afford to rotate that spot because both are quality players.
Right, but at the same time, I would argue that the Champions League game, the hardest one now is coming is Juventus, and the ones right after that aren't as difficult. So you could probably, and the thing is, you look at the fixtures, right? Yeah, let's ignore Southampton for now. Let's look at like ones after that. Brentford is a game that you'd probably need some aerial height. Norwich also, he gives you that attacking threat. Newcastle, Burnley. So my point is, having Rudiger for these games, you're probably going to get those 5, 6 points and all that stuff. But the potential for Alonso in these fixtures is huge. Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley alone, those three fixtures, you need to start even two out of those three and you could get 15, 20 points plus, don't you think?
Yeah, but if he's starting, I'm not as confident as I was last week in that last, and that's why I think the
Of
next
course,
two games
like
are.
I said, it's like
Yeah.
it's a punt you would take, but I think it's one that has massive upside.
The
Yeah.
problem with
What?
Alonso is that if you get it wrong, then you don't want to be picking a defender which you'd have to get rid of after 2 to 3 weeks on wildcard,
That's
right?
true.
This
Absolutely.
seems like the kind of punt I'd rather take before wildcard rather than I'd take after the wildcard, particularly in this point in time now that he's dropped a poor performance.
I
I just
understand
think
what
we'll
you're
have a
doing.
lot more information about this. That's why I'm very happy to just wait it out and then play the wild card
This
after this game week.
So how would
This
you
is
set
it.
up
This
your
is it. I
defense?
mean, this is
How
it.
would,
Zoph
Go ahead.
asked me this regarding the double defense, Chelsea defense, or the double City defense, or even the likes of Ben White as a filler. At this point in time, I'm not sure, which is exactly why I want to hold off from a wild card because another week will give us more information. We might get more clues regarding who are the better options, and regarding the point you made regarding Cancelo's numbers off. I totally agree. He's been playing left back, and I've noticed that his expected assists and goals aren't that high. Actually, his attacking numbers are quite poor. But when I look at penalty area touches, he's top. He's top among all defenders this season. So he's getting quite far forward.
And I bet he's good
I
for
just
bonus
believe
points.
what I like about him is the fact that he can he can also play on the right. So when he plays on the right, he's more of a beast, and that's why I'm sort of more likely to lean towards him because the left back situation is an ill. Worst case now he's going to play on the left. On the right, he's an absolute beast as we've seen in the past. So I mean, it's worth a punt even if he doesn't sort of have as much attacking threat on the left as he has on the right.
Definitely.
Zoff, I'll come back to the question. So the three spots would go to if you were in wildcard in addition to Trent and Livramento.
Trent eliminated one spot. Definitely Ben White. I think he offers great value. He has to be there. But I'm very tempted to look at a back four. I would definitely give that a
Yeah.
consideration, like Trent, Diaz, Rudiger, and Alonso, something like that. And you can even have a good sub like an Mbuemo in midfield to sub on for somebody like an Alonso. Because the thing is, Chelsea defense now the ownership is going to be very high going into the next few weeks. So not, let's say you own Alonso and you don't own any other Chelsea defender, you're going to get that EO punch back every week with all these clean sheets coming. So that sort of ensures you against that.
Wouldn't you be tempted? I'm just asking. So you definitely go double Chelsea defense over double City defense, because I think the doubles, as things stand, I think the double City defense could actually be more secure in terms of minutes, etc. as well.
Yeah,
And
possibly.
I'm not too worried about fixtures as well.
Fixtures is just a point I was going to make. I just wanted to have another look. Burnley, Brighton, Palace, United, Everton, West Ham. The fixtures I would say are equally good, clean sheet
Yeah.
wise. There's not
And with
significantly
City,
different.
fixtures don't really matter, right? And they're going to stifle
Exactly.
opposition. So
Correct.
I don't know. I actually would be comfortable to pull off a Zoph, go early on the double City defense and just sit with it. We've seen
I mean,
last
one of the
season.
reasons one of the reasons we ignored their defense so far has been the fact that they've had relatively toughish fixtures on paper, right? They played Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, but they've actually come out of those games with great underlying statistics. They're by far comfortably top for whatever defensive statistic you name, right? So I
Yeah,
mean, with them, honestly, the fixtures are absolutely irrelevant. I remember speaking to you guys at the start of the season, and we did this thing, the sensitivity
from
analysis. Yes, and I don't exactly remember the name of the account who made
Gromit.
that. Gromit, FPL Gromit, I think, and we did see this as a trend with City last year as well, where regardless of the fixtures, their defensive numbers stay very very great, which has been the case again. But
So
I,
we
I
need
really like the double up. I mean, this idea of going forward the back is legit. I perfectly agree with it. Particularly now, what makes me like it even more off is the fact that there are no legit options I can see of in the coming game weeks in this 7 to 9 million midfield bracket, which is what makes it more viable.
I
I
don't
can
agree.
talk about it.
I don't
Yeah,
agree.
I don't
Yeah.
agree. Zoff and me have been talking about 7 to 9 million midfield assets actually in the background. We can
Bring
discuss that.
bring bring them up. I'm very very
Yeah.
keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, but just before we move on to the attackers, wanted to ask you guys about, would you consider saving 0.5 on Laporte? Man is getting a shot every game.
I know.
Like he's got 10 shots in the box so far, Bakar, this season. He's a legit goal threat at the moment. And we saw it with
I don't know.
Stones last
Stones is
season.
back in training.
Yeah, I know. And Laporte was back in training last season, but we've seen that once picks one, he sticks with them. But you guys wouldn't go there.
No, I won't risk it, honestly. I've been burnt enough by Mahrez and Ferran to consider Laporte.
Yeah.
Zoff, you wouldn't go there either. And Zoff loves DS too much anyway. He's like, if he's going for the double up, he's going to have the security
Diaz
of
has to be there,
DS.
and especially once Kevin De Bruyne gets into the team, because the set piece delivery is on another level with De Bruyne there.
Yeah, so that's why Laporte, right? Laporte is also no set piece, but you'd be wary of the rotation threat with Stones.
Precisely.
All right.
Your three
And I just want
defenders
to
set up.
Cancelo, Diaz, and maybe Christensen to save some cash.
So back four.
Back four, but I'd want to spend more money in attack, so I wouldn't mind going a little more value with my pick. At least, so I'd either save some money on Diaz, or I'd either save some money on Chelsea defense.
Your Chelsea
And I
defender.
don't think, yeah, and I wouldn't go to Digger. If I want to spend 5.5, 6 million, I want some wing back threat. So I'm happy to compromise on the 0.5 to maybe miss one game extra out of 7, 8 games, and I just go for the value pick with Christensen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the 7 to 9 million midfielders off, we've been talking about them. Which one have you been talking about?
Mount
Can I
was
guess who you guys want to bring up? I
Jack
just want to
Grealish.
guess.
Grealish is the one
Yeah,
that
I
I
was
think we
gonna
will
say.
talk about more.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought it would be him. Yeah, because I do have him in my thoughts for the wild card. Personally, his numbers are the ones who are standing out in terms of the city mids. But I mean, 1.64 I think was his xG. 1.4 was his XA. So they're decent, but I like that he's nailed. But he has less than 20% goal involvement. That's something I don't like. Just because he's a city mid doesn't automatically mean that we have to pick him, because obviously the upside is huge. But if City are scoring 5 and he's barely involved in one, then what's the point of City scoring 5, right? It's just to sort of um, comfort yourself that you have an asset playing in that game, which is something I've been considering. I don't know. I'm willing to wait a week before I sort of reassess him.
It's not the numbers that has convinced me, Bakar. It's his performances, particularly in the last couple of weeks. I thought when Chelsea were chasing a goal, once Gabriel Jesus scored, Grealish was their most direct threat in that City team. And I noticed, I spoke about it on the last pod as well. If De Bruyne is coming into the team, I really like that he's playing on the right midfield position, playing that deep cross for Grealish to attack into. And another thing is with Grealish, I've just seen him get more and more accustomed to his teammates. It takes time, right? He's playing for the first time with a fully new team. He's 7, 8, 9 games in now. It takes time for that team chemistry to build. And I've seen a progressive upturn in his value as an FPL asset week on week, and he just looks like a really good pick right now. Uh, Compared to what he was. And I'm not going to lie, I'm also very interested in Phil Foden if he's going to occupy that left midfield spot. But you take his performance against Chelsea with a pinch of salt, because he's not going to play false nine every game. So you have to monitor that. With Grealish, I like the fact that Foden is playing central. It seems like he has very little competition for that left midfield spot.
I
And
mean,
De
he's still
Bruyne coming
going to
back,
rotate the odd game, but he looks like, again, 4 out of 5 playing.
correct.
This we've seen that he's Pep seems to be building his team around him, but he didn't have De Bruyne and Foden available for the season so far. So what makes you think that he's gonna keep his spot when De Bruyne and Foden are available for the majority of the games?
Because De Bruyne is not his competition. De Bruyne is playing right midfield. De Bruyne has never played the position Jack is playing in. His only competition on paper right now is Phil Foden, who Pep has mentioned has been training in the left central midfield position. He hasn't played left midfield all season. And I mean, after starting 9 games back to back, you need to trust a little and take a plunge and see what happens, right? So that's the thinking in my head. What do you
Fixture
reckon?
play.
There's Sterling as well. I know he
Fixture play.
hasn't been great, but Sterling can play on the left as well. So he could get rotated. If there's Foden, there's Sterling as well.
Correct.
But
And I
he's
think,
not played
again,
on the left.
what week gives you more information. You see the lineup against Liverpool, see how he does against PSG today. I think performances
Yeah.
ultimately are a big barometer, right? And the fixtures are good. Burnley, Brighton, Palace, United, Everton, West Ham. Fixtures are decent for like 8 million. Ultimately, you always want that one slot in the midfield, right? For your mid-price midfielder to give you some flexibility. You can move to anybody in
Exactly.
that bracket.
I in the wildcard drafts I have made for 8. He's been in one or two of them actually, and I every time I have in my squad, I just sort of seem to doubt myself as to whether he's going to be a good FPL pick because he's been okay for 8 million. I mean, if his ceiling is 6 or 7 million, I'd rather push that
Yeah,
money in
but
the defense
you're
and get
looking at
someone
the
like a Diaz
stats.
and Cancelo.
You're
Right.
looking at
That's
the
why I was saying the double city defense might actually be a better investment.
that's because you're looking at the whole season as a data set. Like I mentioned, the factor of De Bruyne coming in, which makes Grealish a better asset, and him growing team chemistry with his team is
Yeah.
happening right now. And also, the question I want to pose to you is, what does it take to invest in a City attacker if he's getting 8 out of 8 starts or 9 out of 9 starts? Even if he misses the next game, are you happy with a City attacker costing 8 million, playing 9 out of 10 games? You should be happy with that, right?
I should be happy with it, but what I don't like about him is the fact that he's barely involved so far, right?
Yeah.
That's the point I am trying to make. The goal involvement is way too low. Below 20% is like if they score 5, he's going to be involved in 1. But I completely get your point regarding how they evolve once
Correct.
De
It
Bruyne
can
and Foden are
change.
back. So
It can change.
I
Their
think
goal
that's
involvement
that's
can go up.
that could change the indicators we have, which is why I'm sort of not reading too much into them. But then again, I even at this stage, I think double city defense is
I'm
more
with
of
you
a
on that.
safer bet
You
to
were
go
allowed
with.
to pick 3 players from one team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. I'm with you on double city defense as well. But I just want to stick my neck on the line and say that in 3 weeks' time, we're all going to be looking at Phil Foden closely as an asset. I just rate him as an FPL pick, and I think he's going to play a greater role than he has previously. So just one to monitor. Don't jump on him right now, but I've just got an instinct about Foden. I think he's going to come into our thinking. There's another midfielder, Zoph, which you are telling me whose stock has gone up after the Chelsea City game. Why don't you talk to us about him?
Yeah, so Mount is still injured. I was hoping he would be fit for the Juventus game. He's not available, and there are big doubts about his availability versus Southampton as well. So, and again, we go back to the fixtures. Over the next 4 games, you have Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. Would you rather have, let's say, a Mount or a Chelsea defender? Again, I think there's potential here for points. I know keep saying I'm the first one to say Mount doesn't have explosive potential, but if you want somebody a bit more secure in terms of game time who's going to tick along in these next 4 games, I think Mount is a decent shot.
What are your thoughts of on a 4 game week Kai Havertz punt?
Not sure he's nailed again.
Not sure is nailed because if he's playing as a second striker next to Lukaku, and you
Mount
think in these
plays
games
with
he's
Mount.
going to shift from Kante has COVID anyway, so he has to play 2 in midfield and 3 up top,
Yeah, but
right?
he can
So
recover
uh,
from COVID by let's see, he's out now. He can recover by game week 9. So Kante's thing is quite short term.
Yeah, but in none of those fixtures you see him playing a
No,
base
no, the
midfield of
of three. No,
exactly.
definitely he's going to play at least one of Havertz or Mount in those fixtures, and most likely it's
Why?
going to be Havertz.
Yeah, so then why not a punt there? Because we know he's got goal scoring now. So I remember our discussions again preseason where he did really well at the back end of last season once he got minutes. If he's on the pitch, he's going to be involved in the goal. So just as a punt, a 4 week punt
Yeah,
based on those really good looking fixtures, it's
yeah,
something I
it's a punt for sure. It's not anything
yeah.
that like I would like go near. I would feel much more comfortable with Mount, but it's not a bad punt.
Yeah, that's that. Because people have that money, right? Especially because nobody else is coming or showing up in that 7 to 9 million
Yeah, and you
bracket
want
that
that
Bakar
one but
has.
differentiator midfield, right? Tom Freeman keeps talking about that. Mark keeps talking about that. That's where you have to differentiate in midfield. So it's a decent shout, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to be monitoring his performances for the next 2 weeks because Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. You want a little more action than Lukaku
Because
because
everyone will
everybody
have
who's a
Lukaku. Exactly.
exactly
Everyone will have it.
right. Wow, I think that's what we clocked 25 minutes on Chelsea
25
versus
minutes.
Manchester City.
And before coming on the podcast, we were just talking about this pod today is going to be under an hour.
No, yeah, but I reckon it's good that we gave it some airtime because I think
Yes,
these two
because
teams are the primary teams
the
that people
main
are going to be
talking points.
correct on.
Exactly.
So coming to
You-
United versus Aston Villa. Who wants to talk about this game?
who do you think
Do the
should talk
honors.
about this game?
Do the
I
honors.
I told you Jekyll and Hyde team. We were very capable of not doing anything, and it wasn't even the like a scene of bad luck. Our only chances were two good chances of corners and speculative shots from Mason Greenwood. Outside of that, we really did nothing in the game. Aston Villa absolutely deserved at least 1 point, if not three. They had the far better chances. I mean, people might not watch the game, look at the statistics, and say, "Oh, United have a ton of chances." They were all very speculative efforts. That said, I do like Ronaldo as an option for this game week against Everton because with
Before we
Townsend,
come to that, Pranil, credit where credit's due. You called it before the game. We in our discussion in the last
yeah,
podcast that United were probably going to struggle. So well played.
yeah. Yeah, the only thing is just trusting Liverpool more to attack more consistently. That was the only thought in my head, and that's it. There was no other thought where I just trust the Liverpool attack more compared to United
Right.
attack.
But
That's all.
that being said, again,
Yeah.
I go back to the same fact. If Ronaldo takes the penalty, then
Yeah.
the outcome is again different. It's all variance at one
And
end or the
if
other.
and if Salah is offside, then you are the one laughing. But you I think you judge the games that happen in terms of the performances, right? Out here. So that's all. Aston Villa are a team I really, really want to talk about as well because I think they should be looked at on the wild card because game week 8 onwards they have Wolves, Arsenal away, West Ham home, Southampton away, Brighton home, Crystal Palace away. I don't think for an attacker they're entirely poor fixtures, and Watkins just looks like a really, really good asset. Since Watkins and Ings have started together as a pair, Watkins has had 4 times as many chances as Danny Ings, and I just think he's a good option in a very crowded striker space at the moment.
Yep. I think, yeah, the strikers, I don't know. Let's have a quick look at Villa's fixtures. So I think they're finally starting to gel and become the team we sort of saw last season were a little bit difficult to beat. And there were some funny stats from the United game in terms of shots. I think Greenwood had like some 8 shots and all that stuff, but all of these chances in terms of XG racked up to like 0.5 or 0.6. So this is what we saw from Villa
Speculative
last year.
shots.
Low quality chances.
Yep. But I wonder what happens when Bailey's fit, and I presume that he'll move from a back three to a back two because based on what we saw in terms of Bailey's short cameos, he looks like a player, like a proper player. So I think they will need to accommodate him and give. If the fixtures turn easy, then I see them moving to a back four. So that's something
Yeah,
worth
probably. I
monitoring
think
as well.
game week 8 is when he's targeting to be back right after the break. Then they have Arsenal, then West Ham, Southampton, Brighton, Palace. He's a good mid-price
Are
option
they
for
actually
that
good
one.
fixtures from for? I don't think those fixtures look that good from an attacking point of view. I mean, Wolves are decent defensively.
No, I'm
Arsenal are
saying right
doing
after
well.
Arsenal. Right after Arsenal, that's when we're expecting Bailey back. West Ham, Southampton, Brighton, Palace
Yeah.
is all right.
I mean,
Bakar, my presumption
Brighton.
is they created a
Brighton
ton
I'd
of
still
chances.
classify as a tough fixture. Southampton away is okay.
Yeah, but
I mean,
6.2
personally, I
mid.
won't be looking at a Villa player
It's
6
about
mid.
how much I
on
rate the
wildcard.
team also because they created the reason Chelsea did not concede 2-3 goals against Aston Villa was because of Mendy. Like they created good clear cut chances against the Chelsea as well. So you need to take into consideration that they're capable of putting in a good attacking performance against these teams also, which is why you give them more weightage. It's like Leeds United, right? You don't worry too much about the fixtures when you're looking at Leeds United. So that's the thing in my head, where they've shown good attacking performances.
Hmm. But we'll talk
When
more
we're
about
talking about
captains.
Villa, there are two other players I want to talk about more than the attackers. I actually was impressed by Cash ever since they moved to three at the back. He's actually marauding forward in the last three games. They've started playing this five at the back system where Cash is playing as the right wing back, and he's actually second for penalty area touches since he started playing in that position. And the other person I'd like to mention is Douglas Luiz. So a lot of us are wild carding. Douglas Luiz is almost creating two chances per game. He's actually top for chances created among all Villa players this season. So at 4.5, he's also on some set pieces. Now, I'm not sure whether that's going to continue if Buendia is going to come back
Correct.
or when Bailey's back. But he's totally nailed, and I think he's a decent filler to have.
Right. And just, I think we can focus a little bit on United right now. If people are owning a Greenwood at the moment, I think after this game week is a decent time to lose him, because I'm a little worried. Rashford is coming back into contact training on Saturday. He sent out a little tweet as well. So there's just going to be a lot more rotation there. And I think you move on to other assets when there's a fixture shift. And just some news that came out today with regards to Luke Shaw, where Solskjaer said that he's going to give him every chance to play against Villarreal. So my assumption is that he looks likely to play against Everton at the weekend.
Exactly, and a lot of people are asking whether he's worth keeping because of the fact that he hasn't done much. Right, it's been 6 game weeks. He's been um, below average, putting it lightly. So people are actually considering getting rid, even if he's fit. I don't think it's worth selling him this week in particular because Everton without Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin don't exactly have the same attacking threat, and their numbers are actually fairly down without the two of them. I even watched them against Norwich this past week, and they weren't at their best. I wasn't too impressed by what I saw. So I wouldn't be surprised if United kept a clean sheet in this game, and um, I think this could be a fixture which Shaw could haul. If you're looking to get rid, I think game week 8 could be a better time if he looks like being fit in game week 7.
Agree on all counts, Bakar, with you.
What about you, Zoph?
I don't know. It all depends on the rest of your team. If the rest of your defense is stable, then I would still say Chelsea have a better shout of a clean sheet than Shaw. And if you're going to wildcard next week, then I'd say a 1 week punt on Shaw to Alonso, which might be what I'm doing this week. I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't know. I think you can be more aggressive, maybe in attack with a transfer. Just
Alonso
target.
is an attacker, right? You can't really classify Alonso as a defender.
Yeah, but I don't really see a situation where we see whether or not Alonso is going to start, unless Tuchel just comes out and says outrightly, which is
Correct.
highly unlikely to happen.
If I wildcard next week is ideal, it's the right time to take that chance. Like you said, while having the wildcard in hand is when you can afford to bring in Alonso.
And
other
Zoph
than
has a
vice
bench.
versa.
It depends on who. It depends on who you have a bench. I personally didn't
Precisely.
make that move
Exactly.
because
So
I
we'll talk to that.
don't
I have a
bench,
decent
right?
bench. I have like White and Ailing might play, but Ailing doesn't really count anyway.
Where are you guys on Ronaldo versus Lukaku? Let's take that debate to the
Let's take that to the
section.
captaincy because I think that's more detailed discussion. We've spent quite some time here. Let's just pass to the other fixtures a little bit more speedily. Everton,
All right.
Norwich. Not much to talk about Norwich there. Let's not even discuss.
I finally got my
that
Dean
yet.
clean sheet. That's the main talking point of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
He owed me some
Bakar, you had
points.
a really nice stat about Everton's defensive numbers versus Southampton. Again, do you want to leave that for the captaincy section?
Yes, I want to leave that till that. I think it's better if we come to it when we're discussing captaincy.
Right.
But I
Let's just
think
quickly-
one thing worth discussing is, let's say if you're on wildcard now, or if you're moving in for a budget midfielder around the 6 million bracket, do you go for the Everton guys or do you look elsewhere?
I think there are better options elsewhere personally.
fixtures again.
Zoph?
I keep going back to the fixtures now. They're at the bottom of the ticker from game week 7 to 14. They're third bottom. United, West Ham, Watford, Wolves, Spurs, City, Brentford, Liverpool. That's a tough run. I wouldn't.
Yep.
I wouldn't bother now.
Yep, agreed. I think the time to get them is gone. Despite those two home games against Watford and West Ham, I just look elsewhere. I think Arsenal, Leeds United, and that's it. These two teams are offering better options, and Gallagher is an option as well. So I'd look there.
Better options, right?
Anything to add? Move on.
Yep, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move
Yep.
on. Leeds West Ham. This was such a brilliant game to watch. Absolutely love this. What a brilliant game of football.
What are your takeaways from this game? What do you think about Antonio and Benrahma from this game, Zoph?
I thought the connection between the two was quite good. Antonio had a few good attempts. Really should have scored before that. Benrahma had a few good chances. What really impressed me with Benrahma is how much he tracked back. And I know Moyes would love that. A lot of times I saw Benrahma all the way in defense helping out. So that's going to help his securing like his starting spot
Yeah.
much more. So I don't think there's any reason to get rid of Benrahma. It's part of the reason I'm a little bit jittery about wildcarding because I think he looks in good form and I think he's playing well.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The relationship between him and Antonio is constantly improving. And about the tracking back, that's why he got that bonus point without no uh, attacking return as well, because he created a ton of chances and he had some recoveries and tackles one and all of that as well. I just want to talk about Rafinha. What a sensational player. If you don't have him on your wild card, put him into your wild card right now. I think
Yeah.
possibly the best pick in the game outside of Trent and Mo Salah at the moment. Every time I watch him, I feel like he's at least going to get a return. I mentioned this, and I wouldn't be too frustrated with him missing a ton of chances. He's eventually got to get a couple of big returns. But a couple of guys I want to talk to you guys about. Uh, the fixtures toughen up for West Ham in some time, where they have after game week 8 they have Everton, Spurs, Aston Villa, Liverpool, Wolves, City. Now Antonio so far has been behaving like a premium asset, and that was the case last season as well, where he was top of the table in the league for non-penalty XG. Do you lose him? Do you keep him?
Keep absolutely no question in my mind. While Antonio is fit, he has to be kept.
I think I agree. But I don't share the same thoughts about Benrahma. I think I'd probably sell him on wildcard.
Yep. You can make a case
Cool.
of not doubling up, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think Antonio, there's absolutely no reason to sell him at all, especially with other, like, the mid-price forward bracket is so dry right now. At least if you had your likes of DCL, Bamford fit, you can sort of make a case for it.
I don't think it's dry at the moment. I think there are some genuine good striker options around with good fixtures as well. So, but yeah, Antonio is in a league of his own. But I wouldn't. I would be more open to playing the fixtures compared to you guys. Is where what I'll say is all.
Just
Very
dialing
difficult to
back to
lose
what
him.
you said about Rafinha, two things we should mention. Number one is this injury issue that's constantly bothering you. It seems that it's something he's carrying and managing week to week and
Yep.
monitor that. And number two, he's most likely missing game week 8 because the whole quarantine thing and all that thing is happening. So if you're bringing him on wildcard, you should probably plan for a bench because I think the same thing is going to happen. There's one more international break. Or is it? Yeah, there's
Correct.
3. So that's probably going to happen at the other end of that international break as well. So that's one thing you have to
I
keep in mind.
think Zoph, I actually looked at into this, and I think Livermento in game week 8 could be a very good option. Livermento has Leeds, and Leeds without Rafinha, and most probably Bamford as well. They're gonna probably struggle in that one. So I think
Decent
that's a
shot.
good fixture for Livermento.
Decent shot. But something that people should keep in mind in case they don't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to read out a stat that I read on the, I think, Tom O'Neill's Scout Notes, where they're saying that except for Spurs, West Ham's opponents from game week 7 to 15 are amongst the top 10 defenses for XGC so far this season. So just in terms of fixtures, this is how it's going to play out so far. That's all. Just thought it was a good stat to read out.
Definitely. And Europa League will definitely have some sort of effect eventually going forward. It hasn't.
How
till
long
now.
is Bamford out for?
There was no clarity on that whatsoever.
Because
Really
Rodrigo
don't
looked
know,
good.
but
Leeds looked good. I
from the
thought Leeds
noises,
looked.
we hear, he's probably out for this week as well.
This week. I think post IB
Yeah.
is what
Yeah,
I've
one to
read.
monitor, because if he's out for a slightly more longer term, I think Rodrigo with Leeds' fixtures could be a good differential shout. Just because I thought finally Leeds looked like they got some attacking rhythm
In the
into
first
play.
half.
Struijk is Yeah, even defensively, I thought they were a little better compared to what we've seen previously. And now they have Struik coming back from suspension as well. So things are looking a little better for Bielsa. So just want to monitor if Bamford is out for a while. Move on to the next game.
Next game.
Also, just about West Ham, want to say that from a defensive point of view, it's probably a team you can target now. They're just not the same defensively solid unit that they were last season. Leeds created a ton of chances against them. Manchester United created a ton of chances against them. They're just not as solid as they used to be. So that little perception shift in terms of looking at the West Ham fixture, I think any team is capable of scoring a goal or two against them.
Exactly. This is you asked about Antonio. This is why I actually like Antonio, because the next three are actually low key good fixtures: Brentford, Everton away, and then Spurs at home. Spurs at home, I think, is a good fixture as well. You look at Spurs' form recently; it's been very very poor, and the fact that they're actually conceding goals is what basically they have to score more goals to win is basically the point I'm trying to make.
Fair shot. Fair shot.
Leicester, Burnley. Jamie Vardy keeps on scoring.
Yeah, what three players have more FPL points than him so far this season, which is the case every year. Legit the case every year. He's always up there at the start of the season. But we're gonna still ignore him.
I just about to say, is
He's
anyone
just at
even
that
thinking
awkward
of
price point. He's just at that
Yeah.
awkward price point where just him and Aubameyang. I mean, these are the two players I just don't think I'll get in my team regardless of the fixtures. Not in the coming game weeks at least, because of the price points that they're at.
Is Wood going to rise from the abyss this weekend, Bakar?
He's going
This
to
was a
score
question
versus
on.
Norwich for sure.
This was a question that
He's going
came
to
on
score
from
versus
Twitter.
Norwich for sure. It's a good one. Whoever said that is a good one. Fair play.
I think shout out to Stadium of Sports. I think that's his account name. I just
There's
had
actually
to
a
ask
decent
that
shout.
question.
Actually, legit speaking, if you don't take a punt for 1 week before Wildcard, can't go wrong with like a player striker
Yes,
against Norwich.
Yep, I agree.
Zoph, a lot of FPL managers are actually in that market. They're looking for Bamford replacements. So I think for a 1 week punt, you could do much worse.
Yeah, Bakar, if
What
Wood
was
does
that?
score, you should do the Martinez celebration for us live on the
I've
next
always
FPL.
been I've always been an advocate of Wood. You know me. Doesn't take much for me to get Wood.
Oh my god, it's been a while since we had some Wood jokes on the pod, so I don't mind the
It's due.
tangents.
I was due. I was looking at the
It was
fixture
due.
list. This week definitely we're going to get some good discussion.
Yeah. I have some more problems in defense now because I was trying to be cheeky. I was in the market for a defender last game week and I got in Ricardo Pereira, who could have had an assist in that first half, but then Cornet was giving him a terrible time in that first half. So, more problems in defense for me this weekend. I'll monitor what Broch does in Europe. But I do want to talk about Leicester. I think their performances have been better than the results indicate. I think they've been terribly unlucky. And I think Evans coming back after the international break is going to give them some defensive stability as well. I think Evans is just the Rio Ferdinand of that defense, right? Where you need somebody to orchestrate the defense, telling somebody to move ahead, he's sort of the leader in that defensive unit. Both Soyuncu and Vestergaard are sort of like brainless thugs, right? Where they've got the physicality, but they're not reading the game or directing the moves. I think that's why they've been struggling defensively. Attack, Harvey Barnes again had some great chances, just his owners, if there are any at the moment. Hard done by. Lookman one to monitor at 6 minutes. I thought he looked lively on that right hand side midfield for Leicester City.
Yeah, they haven't gone to a back five still, which is interesting. Even now that they have some defenders back, they still haven't opted to go for that. Iheanacho can't get a game.
Can't get a game. And every time he comes on, he looks good. He scored a really good goal in the Carabao Cup in the midweek as well. But just Broch is stubborn. Broch thinks.
Yeah. Move on.
Yeah. Just one player I want to talk about is Tielemans because with Sumar coming into that Leicester midfield, he's sort of playing more further up the pitch compared to he was when he was previously, and his chance creation stats and shot stats are pretty good. The shots are still speculative efforts from outside the D, but again, one to monitor. He's just playing further up the field compared to what he's done previously.
Watford,
Yeah.
Newcastle. I'll start this one. I don't know how Newcastle didn't score 4 or 5 goals in this fixture. It was an absolute paddling. The goal that Sarr scored it was from a set piece, not the goal we'd expect. He didn't really have a single big chance other than that.
Yeah.
So
Watford
I
didn't
really,
have any single big chance
apart
from
from that,
open
and
play.
they were playing Newcastle.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's an
Newcastle thoroughly
indicator of
deserved to win.
how bad Norwich are. That Norwich conceded 4 big chances to them last year, or is that Watford are just Jekyll and Hyde? I don't. I still can't read Watford yet.
Zoph, Watford conceded 6 big chances at home to Wolves as well. I don't think they're that good a team defensively as we
No
thought they
defense.
would be
Forget about
initially.
defense. Yeah, defense idea is completely
Yeah.
gone out the window. But
No, the
I
point I'm
was
trying to make is that Salah in eight for captaincy, he looks good.
I like him more than Lukaku. I think that week away to Brentford.
Exactly what I was gonna come to.
No, I think that's an easy captaincy call. You go more. No, I don't think it's debatable. You go more Salah in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Newcastle. I just want to give a shout out to our friend FPL General. He went Saint Max. I just thought he was unlucky to get only one return.
One, yeah.
Should have gotten 3 or 4 returns in that game. Serious option because Newcastle can play some in attack. They're currently ninth on the table for XG accrued so far this season. So good attacking numbers. Maybe we should look at Saint Max because he's always in and around, always involved, and he does have a lot more end product than he did last season.
There's a debate to be had for
You know,
wildcarders between. Sorry, Bakar, go ahead. I was just talking
yeah,
about Saint Max and
yeah,
Armstrong. I can't understand. Like, there's a debate to be had there, but go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say that I was actually looking at his numbers from last year onwards, and the goal thread is pretty much the same. I was looking at the XG per game; it's 0.22 versus zero point 0.2, so there's not much of a difference. But the chances created and expected assists have gone up massively. There's been almost 100% increase in his expected assist involvement, which is telling me that he's playing really well. He's creating a lot of chances for others, and he was actually very unlucky not to have had more this week. Coming to Armstrong versus Saint Max,
Pause
I think I
before we
yeah.
move. I just want to talk about the level at what he's at. If you think about it, it was what, the 85th minute or around that mark where he created the chance for Murphy through on goal. It was a spectacular pass. It just shows how he's progressed as a player because I think Traore is left at a certain level and Saint Max has gone a little up in terms of the end product that he's found. Go on, talk about Armstrong now.
I think we lost Bakar in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, no, I just heard you. Yeah, I was gonna say that Armstrong, I think, is a better player because he looks like the perfect enabler from 8 onwards. You look at his fixtures, I like them more than Newcastle's.
Not the fixtures. I just don't know if Saints are going to score that many goals
Exactly.
despite
They
the
were
fixtures.
very poor against Wolves, and I don't think
Yeah.
we've appreciated how much of a loss Ings is to that team. I don't think they just didn't create chances because
You,
Armstrong is not a guy who's going to create chances for himself. Where are the chance creations coming from?
If I'm looking at the price bracket, I'll be honest. I can't look past. I've
okay, let's
been told.
compare let's compare the fixtures. Now Newcastle have Wolves. Okay, Spurs is an easy fixture these days. Crystal Palace away, which is likely to be tough. Chelsea at home is likely to be tough. Brighton is likely to be tough. I just don't see the point of going with St. Max. So I'd rather punt with the fixtures. I know Armstrong isn't looking that great right now, but look at the fixtures: Leeds, Burnley, Watford, Villa, and Norwich. Now that's almost 4 of the teams we want to target because they're right down there for expected goals conceded. I'd be shocked if Saints don't score a few goals, and I think Armstrong is likely to be involved in those fixtures.
That's fair. And I think it transitions
sure.
well into Tony also because I think you can go with like Armstrong for the 2 home fixtures and even hop off to around game week 10 when Brentford have Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle back to back after. I
But
think
why
that
do you want to? I don't know if you want to hop off, very honestly, and it's a good discussion worth having because
Yes,
Bakkar's not wrong
exactly.
in terms of the fixtures that Southampton have: Leeds at home, Burnley at home,
and
Watford
it's a
away.
wait
It
and
doesn't
watch.
get.
You see how they're doing.
It's,
You see those 2 fixtures, give him the 2 home games, see how they're doing. Hop on if you feel
but
like.
but my read from that Liverpool game was that it won't matter. The fixtures won't matter too much for an Ivan Toney because of the
I
sort
agree.
of the team that Brentford are. They're so well drilled. The players know exactly what they're doing. They've got a very shrewd manager, a very good manager. He's going to get the chances in every game. He just remember Jimenez 3 seasons ago when he first came into the league, glue guy, you put him in and you don't have to look at him for the 15 game weeks.
Completely
Ivan
agree.
Toney is the kind of guy that reminds me of that. It's just not a transfer that you're going to make for a long time. We've
He reminds me of Charlie Austin back in the days. Honestly, he is central to that team, and he's the talisman. And I think
He's a
I
much
really like
better
him.
player.
No, I mean in
Very
terms of
different
the
players. I don't
talismanic
agree.
status.
I don't think he's getting anywhere near the shot volume that Austin is. I think Austin was a better FPL asset than he was a footballer. Here it's vice versa.
Correct.
Tony's contributing more to the team than he is actually to in terms of FPL point potential.
But he's central. He's central to whatever they're doing. He's creating chances. Look at the number of chances created. Over the past 4 game weeks. He's top for expected assists. Now that is incredible. Not only is he getting the goals himself, he's also creating chances. And this is exactly the kind of player I like for the 6.5 million slot, where I can just forget about him. So if I was in a wild card, I think I'd have him over both Saint Maximan and Armstrong. And
That's where
he's
I'm
also
at.
in penalties, which is an added advantage. Penalties is huge.
That's where I am at the moment. I don't think people realize how good a player Ivan Toney is at the moment. I think what
Yeah.
spoke about him being such a good player the most was, remember that offside goal that he scored against Liverpool? It was a finish from the far right side and it was just in the corner of the net. I thought that was spectacular. That's the kind of player, even if you remember the goal that he almost scored in the championship playoff where he hit the bar. Again, that's the kind of talent that this guy has. Hats off. I just want to give a shout out to our friend FPL Ants Luke, who kept singing his praises before the season started, and he was like, he's going to be likely a set and forget option, and it does look like that after the slight lull at the start.
Let's talk about Liverpool. Jota, keep.
Tough. Now, in my opinion, Zoph, if I was on a wild card, I'd probably if I was on a wild card in 8, I'd probably sell him this week for someone like a Sar or Ben Rama because they have more potential. But this is the question which has been bothering me as well, because a lot of people have been asking this: what to do with Jota if not wild carding in 8, because there doesn't seem to be a like for like replacement. Now I've talked about Sar. Sar doesn't have the fixtures after this week. I won't be getting him long term. Same for Ben Rama. He doesn't have the fixtures after this week either. So, I mean, I'd potentially hold him because I'm not sure there are better options available right now, and just reassess next week as to where we stand. What's making this hard is the fact that Firmino is not likely to go to. In fact, he's not going to. It's confirmed that he's not going to
Exactly.
the Brazil. Yes. So this is what makes it hard, and the fact that this sort of tells me that he's probably a sell, but I mean, we have seen in the past that Klopp, even in this game against Brentford, he opted for a front four in the second half, right? So that could happen against Watford. If there aren't any obvious replacements, then I think you can afford to keep him, if not wildcarding anytime soon.
And also just want to add to the fact that Portugal play on the 13th of October, late at night, and then they have the early kickoff on the 16th, which is a Saturday. So I reckon that Firmino, who's going to be rested in the international break, plays that money game against Watford, which is why I'd probably sell him right now. Because Portugal are so
Who
close.
would you get is the question, though. Who would you get is the question, though.
A midfielder from a team we are yet to talk about.
Oh, Saka. Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Look
Saka.
at the Arsenal guys. Yeah, look at the Arsenal guys. Good run of fixtures for the long
Saka.
term.
Got it.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about the Southampton Wolves. Why don't we talk about the Arsenal assets? But you've been crowdsourcing.
Why? Wait. Just
We'll
want to
come back
actually have. I got a couple of stats about Liverpool, and I think we should not move past before discussing Raya, because I think Raya versus Ramsdale is an important conversation to have for the wildcard position as well. But this is something that Andrew Gorong tweeted, where he said that Jota has started 60 to 70% of the games that he's been available for, and he's not been available. And he's not started 8 games, and those 8 games that he did not start, the average playing time in those 8 games was 21 minutes as well. So it just kind of solidifies the fact that he's playing around 60% of the games. In the games he's not playing, he's getting half an hour. So then you determine whether it's worth it or not. And if you have bigger problems in your team, make those changes. It wouldn't be a priority transfer, but keep in mind that he's not likely to play that Game Week 8 game because of the international break schedule.
Correct. Move on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Van Dijk. Sorry. Did you notice he was poor in that game? Like especially that clearance that Matip made of Mbuemo, where it was cleared off the line, Van Dijk, and I saw that 4 or 5 times in that game where he's just not sprinting. I don't know. There's something to monitor because he's just obviously he had a massive injury, but I still think he's not up to full fitness because on a lot of occasions I saw him dawdling around in crucial situations instead of sprinting. So just wanted to mention that.
Cool.
Cool. Let's move on.
Arsenal. We'll come back to Southampton. Well, Arsenal Spurs. You've crowdsourced a few opinions on Arsenal fans. Why don't you share those with us?
All right. So just I'm doing an article for FFS, and I thought it'd be a good idea to get opinions from some Arsenal fans. Shout out to Office Jones, Nighthawk, uh, and who was the third one? Adam 35 who got the assist.
Planet FPL.
Executive sorry, yeah, for Planet FPL, right? He's the Arsenal representative for Planet FPL. They were kind enough to answer my question. So the first question that I asked them is, do you think Arsenal assets are worth investing in for the upcoming run? All three of them very confidently said yes, the team is in a good place, the players are back fit, it's worth investing in Arsenal. I asked them if Ramsdale is going to be nailed for the upcoming run. All three of them, without any doubt, very confidently said that yes, Ramsdale looks nailed. So three, and I must add that all these three fans are good FPL players as well, and I do trust their opinion from an FPL point of view as well. So that's something that's convincing. There are a few murmurs that Lenham actually might be going in January. So that is something worth adding. That he looks like a really good keeper prospect on the wild card. And the last question I asked them is who their top two picks would be in attack and defense and why. Most of them picked Ramsdale in defense, and they picked a couple of them picked Tomiyasu over Ben White in defense because I think there's 0.1 million between them, and the games that Arsenal are going to be having are fairly kind of fixtures on paper. So they might not have to do the whole lopsided three centre back thing, and Tomiyasu might make some runs further up the pitch. So worth spending 0.1 million more, and he looks nailed on that spot. I asked them who their favorite attackers are, and they said you take your pick between Yesar and Saka. They spoke about Saka not being as good because there was a little fatigue there. He joined the camp late, and his sharpness has been growing week on week. And he looks like a really good pick now. He's in a good moment because he's had a good run of goal contributions in the last 3 or 4 games. And they said that ESR also offers great value for money at his price. Adam mentioned that ESR's breakthrough season kind of reminds him of Ramsey's breakthrough season, where he's making a lot of late runs into the box, which is something we've spoken about as well. So yeah, that's what you have when it comes to the Arsenal assets.
Good options, I think. Except I think Oba is probably a bit overpriced considering everybody else in attack is so much cheaper. And in defense, I'm not that sure about Tomiyasu offering that much because it's a back three when they're in possession with Tierney bombing forward. And I think White at 4.4 offers slightly more security with Maitland-Niles still about.
Yeah, and
Maitland has
in the
been
easier
playing in
fixtures,
midfield.
I think he's likely to do well with the pass completion as well. Slightly better bonus potential, in my opinion.
I presume their only thinking was that he won't be as withheld in the kind of fixtures coming up for
Possibly. But
Arsenal.
yeah, I
That's
think
all.
it's 0.1 either way. It's not much of a thing. In terms of
Yeah.
Spurs, I think less said the better. They were abysmal. Monday Night Football did a great segment about them yesterday about how the midfield completely let them down. And they said a lot of it, the tactics were down to Nuno as well. So the fixtures actually aren't that bad going forward if you look at Spurs. But I guess the only one you could possibly look at Son, but I don't think he's going to justify his price tag because you see they're sixth on the ticker, fifth in fact. Of the Villa, Newcastle, West Ham United, Everton, Leeds, Burnley, Brentford. It's actually decent run. United is the only traditional top 6 team there for the next 7-8 weeks.
Correct. And Krish, sorry, FPL Escapades asked if Pepe is an option. Out of the three, only Nighthawk said that he didn't mind Pepe as a punt still. But I still reckon you go for the more nailed picks in ESR or Saka.
ESR is a threat from Pepe, because Odegaard is likely to play, and I assume that Saka is more nailed than Smith Rowe. So early subs will be a bit of a worry for me with Smith Rowe. I think I prefer Saka because of the security of minutes.
And what impact does
Fair shout.
Xhaka's injury have on the team?
I asked them a follow-up question after that, and they said that they aren't reliant on Zaka for ball progression as they used to be, and Sambi Lokonga has been actually really, really good as well in the little that they've seen from them. And Partey is the crucial component in that midfield, not Zaka at the moment. And they like worry when Partey is injured, not when Zaka is injured.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Southampton Wolves. So just sort of from
Just
what I
a-
saw from Southampton, I think this Che Adams is completely off color, and that's having a bit of a knock-on effect on Armstrong as well. And Stuart Armstrong being out is not helping. He is also a key component in their attack and generally disjointed. Even defensively, the goal which they scored, the defenders should have done better in tracking Jimenez. But what a goal! Great moment seeing Jimenez score. I don't think you can be a football fan and not enjoy that goal, obviously, unless you're a Saints fan. You understand that. But fantastic moment. And people who own Traore, I don't think you need to worry. I think he's getting straight back in the team. Podence had a very poor game, extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
Marcel was poor yet again, Zoph. I think if Nouri's fit, he's highly likely to get dropped. I was checking the Wolves fan forums, and almost every single team had Nouri starting the Newcastle fixture. So it remains to be seen. That could be a worry for Marcel owners going into that fixture.
Yeah, don't think he changes his short term because seems to me the guy who's to keep a clean sheet, you get 3 points, he keeps the team. But longer term, I guess you're probably right. Anything else to add here?
Nothing.
No.
Just love Raul. Always done well for me in FPL. Brought him this week, so delighted.
And good run
I think
coming. I think
actually
he's a good
that's
shout.
yeah, good shout. The fixtures don't get worse; they actually get better for
They
Wolves.
actually get
So
a bit worse for defensive returns. And I was looking at it now as a
Yes.
Semedo owner. Now, in terms of attack,
Yeah.
you just look at Villa, Leeds, Everton, Palace, West Ham, Norwich as great fixtures. But in terms of defense, I see maybe 2 out of 6 in the next 6 after Newcastle.
fair shout.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree. Those fixtures are decent for attack, but not that great for defense.
Yeah,
yeah.
but if you
They
have
look
like a
good for Jimenez,
Semedo,
don't they?
look for Jimenez. The good thing is if you have somebody like a Semedo, you can pretty much look at him as an attacker and still play him in these fixtures because he's still getting forward a lot in the back three. But the likes of Cody, Kilman, not that appealing during this run. Right. Final game, Palace, Brighton. Either of you guys watched this? I haven't even seen the highlights yet.
I did. I did. I watched the whole game. Palace had the better of it. They deserved to win it, but at the end, Mope with a class finish, and that was it. I was actually looking forward to watching the game as a Sanchez owner. He created one big chance, but Welbeck spurned it. He really should have scored. It was an easier chance than the one that Mope took actually. So it was very very unfortunate to watch. Sanchez even had a chance at bonus, even with the yellow card and even after conceding. So even if he had made like one more save and not gotten the yellow card, he could have had like 5 to 6 points. So that was sort of really frustrating to watch.
That's interesting because we always
Sanchez
talk
has
of
now had two
Sanchez.
big chances created this season and not a single assist. He had it he created one on the first day of the season as well. Very frustrating.
It's
Give
normal
me my
that he doesn't
points.
have a single assist, Bakar. It's
No,
very
give me
normal.
my points. No, give me my points. I refuse to accept this.
Yeah. The
Thoughts on
fixtures.
Gallagher, Bakar? You saw the game. I want to
Gallagher
actually
looked
ask
good.
you.
Yeah, he was making the late runs into the box and he looked good. He actually looked good.
Gallagher would be
Just
starting in the
one.
Chelsea team if he was in there today. Possibly, like, that role linking up the midfield and attack.
Yeah,
Not
he
just
looked good.
Gallagher.
Zaha on penalties is another one who could be worth considering. We haven't
Yeah.
really spoken much about him, but he on penalties he's looking better. Palace in general are looking much better than what they were last season. So I think with the sustained run of good fixtures, I think at some point in time Zaha is going to become a good option as well.
Just one thing to monitor with Gallagher is that when Millie was on the pitch, he was taking the set pieces and he took them off Gallagher.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is something.
Dents his
to
appeal
monitor.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
Just
right.
one last question. I think Sanchez keep sell on wildcard.
Yeah, actually, let's discuss the keeper spot on Wildcard because I think it warrants a discussion. For me, the options at 4.5 million are Ramsdale because of the reasons we've spoken about in the previous two pods. And I think Raya is a good option as a keeper, in my opinion, because of the save potential that he has. They kind of remind me a little bit of Burnley in terms of how well drilled they are. They don't concede too many big chances, they just concede a lot of shots from outside the box. Liverpool was a different proposition. I think you ignore what happened in that game. So I reckon it's between these two. What do you boys think?
I agree in the same order, probably.
Ramsdale
Bakar?
For
at
me,
number.
for me, it's 50-50 between Sanchez and Ramsdale. I'm still not so bullish about getting rid of Sanchez because I think at 4.5 he's going to continue to offer value for the rest of the season. I'm not sure though whether he's a better option than Ramsdale, and I really like Ramsdale as well, particularly with the run of fixtures coming up, and Arsenal do tend to concede quite a few shots. So it's tricky, but I don't think you can go wrong with the 4.5 Brighton keeper long term because they will grind out clean sheets.
Yeah. Ramsey's baseline
Just
bonus also quite good compared. I think anytime Arsenal keep a clean sheet, he's going to be more likely higher in bonus than Ben White, Gabriel, Tomiyasu and stuff. That's what a big attraction.
And what worried me about Sanchez is if you're on wildcard now, these are his fixtures: Arsenal at home, Norwich away, City at home, Liverpool away, Newcastle, Aston Villa, and Leeds. They don't look very good from a defensive point of view.
Yes,
That's a
Pranil, but this is something we discussed I think a couple of weeks ago as well. That when you're buying a keeper on wildcard, he's there till like game week 30. What's
Right,
the
but
point of
look at
looking
the
at
fixtures.
fixtures?
I mean, there is a point of looking at fixtures because ultimately you want points right now. Give me my points, as somebody just said. So
No, but like, will you honestly, Zoph, like looking at you as a manager, will you ever use a transfer on a keeper
if I have
no.
two
But
like
free
in
Bakar,
game week
transfers
30
and
in
nothing
case
to
he doesn't get
burn,
injured?
if I have two
Bakar,
free
what
transfers,
I'd
nothing to
play
burn, or
it.
there is a significant fixture shift, why not? It's very rare you get
Have you
somebody
ever
like
done it in the
Martinez.
past?
Yes,
Have you done it in the past? Like,
yes.
okay, if someone obvious like Martinez comes up, then yes, but it's not as clear
Adrian
cut with Brighton
Martinez with
because
Dean
they
Henderson.
will keep, with Sanchez, it's not as obvious because Brighton are still going to keep clean sheets. So I don't think selling him at any point will be obvious.
I think the fact that Brighton have not faced any of the top six teams is something you take into consideration because they're going to face that huge chunk. And if it's a close call, let's say if it's a 45-55 also, which probably is the case in my head between an Arsenal keeper and a Brighton keeper, then maybe I'd look at the fixtures, is how I'd put it.
Yeah, I
Fair
won't
enough.
rush to sell, but
Yeah.
on wildcard, I don't know if I'd keep. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Joe from
Sure.
Scout went Raya and he's been actually very happy with Raya as a keeper. I just think they remind me a little bit of Burnley defensively, so just want to see their
Yeah,
performance
that
again for a couple of
save he made of Jota, brilliant.
save of the season.
Incredible save.
So good, my God, so good.
Bakar
Right.
called me after I that save, like, yes, no Jota points.
Yeah. I was
I
crying
watched
too.
that game as someone who didn't own Jota and as someone who did not have Salah as captain, and I was like, I aged like a million years in that like 90 minutes. Honestly, it was such a hard watch. Five big chance involvements between Salah and Jota, like chance after chance, chance after chance. What's worse was that Brentford weren't even sitting back; they kept on attacking, leaving spaces in behind. So it was a very tough watch.
I tell you what, though, in the last 10 minutes, Brentford looked more likely to score
To score.
than
Yeah.
Liverpool do. Liverpool did.
Yeah.
They only had
Spectacular
one
game. I
chance, right?
think
That
early
Salah
contender for game of the season.
kept on top. Definitely up there. Definitely
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah. Right, before we just move on to the captaincy chat, we've got about 900 people in the chat, guys. Make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps us getting found. So even if you're not live, just hit the like and subscribe button right now. We'd really appreciate it. Right, captaincy.
Right.
Let's say all your defenders are fit. Do you make the Ronaldo to Lukaku move? I think
Let's
let's discuss that first in isolation. Who's the better captaincy option this week?
quick look at the team data for this again. For Everton, I wanted to highlight in terms of XG conceded, they're second so far over the season. So the numbers have actually been pretty good. And Bakar, you had some stats also for Everton and Southampton. Wanted to
Yes,
share.
the stat I had was that Everton and Southampton actually have more or less the same non-penalty XG conceded, 4.3 and 4.1. So there's not much of a difference when it comes to their underlying statistics. But what's worth noting is that Everton are yet to face any of the sides this season who are in the top eight for XG, while Southampton have had all six of those matches against such teams who've been in the top eight for XG this season. So Southampton have had really tough fixtures, while Everton, from a defensive point of view, they've had favorable fixtures. And they're yet to be tested against a very good side. In my opinion, I watched the Norwich game. They obviously it was Norwich, so they won, but they look to me a poor team without Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, and I think United are going to get quite a few chances in this game, and I think Ronaldo is probably going to end up scoring. As far as Chelsea is concerned, I also think that Chelsea are likely to win against Southampton, but I don't think it will be as high scoring. Honestly, at the end of the week, I don't think there will be too much of a difference between Ronaldo and Lukaku. But I think I just about prefer Ronaldo for the captaincy because of the fact that Everton looked poor without their key men, and their fixtures have been great. So I just wanted to put that big chances conceded stat you mentioned, XG conceded stat you mentioned, into context.
Makes sense. But I don't
Zoph, where
say
you at on captaincy?
I hate captaining a player in the early kickoff. I mean, even last week with the Ronaldo blank, no matter what players, your points you get after that is like, oh yeah, okay, fine. He scored, Rafinha scored, yay, but the captain blanked. It's just such a negative start to the game week, right? And it's ultimately, like, it feels like might be repeating the same mistake again with United Everton, but who knows, Johnny might actually take a penalty this time.
Yes, I was going to come to that. Pranil, do you think he's going to take a penalty now over Fernandes?
100%. No doubt in my
Oh,
head.
Ole,
No doubt
after the game, he sort of did say that Fernandes is mentally very strong and he's ready to step up again. Now, what does that iterate?
That's his
But it's
usual
not Ole's
standard
team, it's
manager
Ronaldo's
speak.
team.
Exactly. As you said, Bakar, under Ronaldo. Last spot.
I
I'd
don't
be
know, man.
very-
I don't know, man. Ole, I mean, he might be stubborn, and I fear he might be stubborn.
I don't think so.
I hope not.
No. Zoff, how do you see that Southampton game going, though? I'm actually interested in your opinion as a Chelsea fan. I know your attacking midfielders haven't been in form, but there's too much quality, and the gulf in quality between the two teams is bigger than the gulf in quality between United and Everton. That's where my head is at the moment.
I think you're spot on with regards to that. And also, there's bound to be a reaction from the fact that we lost our last road game pretty badly, in which case we didn't have a single shot on target. So there is a bit of an impetus for the team now to put on an attacking display as such. And I do think Southampton miss defense. They aren't as good with Salisu and Bednarek. I think Lukaku can get some joy over there. So I think it's probably a 2-0 to Chelsea is how I would see it.
Right. You don't see a battering.
I don't see us giving a battering, especially because it's going to be so soon after the Juventus game. I think that game might take a lot of energy out of us. You might see subs. If let's say we go 2-0, 3 up, rest Lukaku after 60th, 70th.
This is the kind of game in which Reece James would have been very, very useful, I think.
And that's another thing. The supply line is a little bit restricted down.
Yeah.
Let's say if Mount is injured, you don't have Reece James also.
Even if he's playing, he's not in the best of form.
Exactly. So in terms of creativity, our attacking numbers actually haven't been that great. Lukaku isn't getting massive amounts of shot volume. So I'm not saying he's a great pick. If you had to ask me if, as Bakar says, gun to your head, which player would you rather have as captain in your team this week? It would be Lukaku, not Ronaldo.
Right. But you don't think the difference is big enough to warrant a transfer?
I think because it could potentially go the other way. You could see Ronaldo outscoring Lukaku, but for that one transfer, especially if you're going to do it before a wild card or something like that, you probably address it in some other areas where there's more guaranteed return.
If you're not wildcarding, good time to make that move? Because you're holding Lukaku henceforth for sure. What if you're not wildcarding?
It's not a bad idea. You could do it, or you could possibly hold a transfer over the international break. It's definitely a more aggressive move.
I still think there's a case of holding a transfer, even if you're not wildcarding, because over the next two, United have Everton, and then Leicester haven't looked great at all. We just highlighted how poor they've been.
Chelsea, I think they'd be better with Jevons
back. And they were decent versus City also, Leicester. The problem they've always had is they struggle against these mid-table, and this is because they just don't raise their game enough. Usually against the big sides, they do generally perform better. I know Rogers,
I don't
there's
know.
a caveat
I
with
don't
that.
think there's an obvious gain to be made by shifting
Yeah,
Ronaldo to
this week it's not that
Lukaku over
obvious.
over
It's
the
much
next two
more.
game weeks. Over the next two game weeks, I'm not sure. I think
I
even
guess because
against Leicester, I
Brentford,
think
I guess because
Ronaldo could do
Brentford,
well.
you're rating the Brentford defense quite highly, I guess, for the next week as well against Chelsea.
But
That's
I like
probably
that
why.
Brentford fixture to attack for a premium team because Brentford like to play. So I quite
Exactly the
like that.
point.
That's the same. That's the
That's the
same
point.
thing that
That's
happened
exactly
with
the. I think the
Liverpool.
fixture for game week 8 is significantly better for Lukaku than it is for
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
I also think it's better this game week because I'll tell you what the progression in my head was. I on Sunday I was of the opinion that I actually think the Everton game suits Ronaldo more than the Aston Villa game because we are not as good against good pressing teams. We're better against bus teams. We're much better against bus teams than we used to be a year and a half ago. I think the narrative has changed since Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba have come into the team. I don't think creativity is going to be a problem, and you kind of know that Rafa is going to be pragmatic. He's going to sit. So what is going to happen? A lot of United is going to have 60-65% possession. You're going to see a lot of balls going to Bruno, going to Pogba, a lot of Ronaldo occupying central positions. And if he's not occupying, he'll come back deep and take shots. But we're going to get majority of the ball. It's going to be a more similar game to the Newcastle game than it is to the Aston Villa game in my head. So that's the thing where I think it's a better fixture than Aston Villa, but I still think Lukaku versus Southampton is the better fixture because the gulf in the quality of the teams is higher. I definitely wouldn't make that move for a hit. If you have two playing defenders this week and not a third playing defender, I'd rather get a third playing defender. I think that's a better use of a transfer. But if you don't have any other move to make, as of today, I'm leaning towards making the switch to Lukaku.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many defender doubts. We have even Trent, who's a possible doubt we're hearing now for the weekend. Some doubts around Shaw. People have James who might be suspended. So it's potentially a way to even gain a step up because most people will be doing housekeeping transfers. You could get ahead of the
Yeah.
curve if you do that. So it's definitely an upside play there.
Yeah, and I think there is going to be a heavy variance in terms of the scores because very few people at the moment
Yes.
own both. So you're
Yeah.
either going if Ronaldo starts and blanks and gets 4 points and Lukaku scores a couple of goals, that's going to be a 20-point difference in either direction, whichever
Yes.
way you go, depending on whoever performs. But I do
Captaincy will be the most critical thing this week. I mean, whoever are the winners of the Lukaku or the Ronaldo camp are basically going to win at this game week. I honestly think it's the single most important thing this week, more than it has been in the
Any
first six
weeks,
game
in
weeks.
any week so far,
yeah,
spot on there.
Yeah, because the swing is brutal, right?
yeah.
As the thing you nailed is the fact that those who have Ronaldo don't have Lukaku, and those who have Lukaku don't have Ronaldo, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it is going to be so big and so massive.
Yeah, I think I reckon a lot of people are going to base that decision based on the two Champions League games as well. They're just going to assess that performance
Yeah.
and decide if one scores and the other doesn't. I think that's going to direct a lot of transfers in that person's direction as well.
Antonio, let's just touch upon that. Is Antonio a shout at home to Brentford?
Not when Ronaldo is playing at home against Everton or Lukaku is playing at home against Southampton.
I mean, let's say
Agreed.
you assume you don't have Lukaku if you have only Ronaldo, and that's it. If like me, like I'm just searching for a reason not to captain him in the early kickoff. So
No,
Antonio's the only other person that's feeling
Confirmation
good.
bias off.
I own Antonio. I own Jimenez. I wouldn't consider either or Ronaldo at home against Everton
Yeah, I
because
probably
you
won't
need
either.
to remember this isn't a fully fit Everton team. It's an Everton team missing their two best attackers. So our mm, Iwobi, Townsend, Gray, and Rondon going to conjure up so much play and then they're going to dominate. You know for a fact that Liverpool United are going to have 60-65% possession in that game. I think it could also come down to whether we're able to break through them in the first 20-25 minutes, and that forces Rafa to then change the way he plays the game. I think that also might come into play.
That's true. And Antonio, there's also the Europa League Thursday, Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll be tired against a high energy Brentford team.
Yeah.
Might have an impact.
While we're talking
Worth
about United,
mentioning.
we haven't. While we're talking about United, Zoph, we haven't spoken about Greenwood. A lot of people have been asking about him as well. So, how do you look at
We
him
did,
going
we
forward?
did, we did speak about Greenwood, didn't we? I remember Pranal,
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
him.
yeah. Yes. I do want to mention that we're playing late on a Wednesday night and we have the early cook-off on Saturday. So maybe that leads us to being a little more jaded. Just something because you guys are playing on the Tuesday night and playing Saturday at 7. So there's one
But
extra day of
didn't they
rest as
didn't they
well.
make a rule that they'll stop that the teams playing on Wednesday are not going to play the early kickoff on
But
Saturday?
that's
What
happening.
happened?
Yeah,
That's
that's
quite
happening. But
that's quite
so
strange.
so that's a very short period as well between the two games. Something worth monitoring.
Cool. Sorry to Greenwood. So just to recycle the opinion in case anyone missed it, I think we said keep for this week, but look to sell the week after, right?
Yes.
Keep it short. Cool. Let's move on to our teams. Anything else to discuss for this particular week?
No.
I don't think so. I think we've already clocked what, 1 hour 20
R20,
minutes.
R20. Yep, it's usual. And you boys said we could do it under 60. It's rubbish. First up, I think this is Pranil, your team, right? With Jimenez.
Yeah. So I've
Yes.
got Sanchez as my keeper. I've got Trent, Shaw, and Pereira as my three defenders. I've got Salah, Greenwood, Rafinha, and Benrahma in midfield. I've got Ronaldo, who's currently got the armband, Antonio, and Jimenez, who's my vice at the moment. Slightly monitoring Semedo's little knock that he got. I'm hoping that I get lucky with Howard. If I do have three playing defenders, I'll be very closely debating the Ronaldo to Lukaku switch. That's where my head will be. If I don't, I'll be looking to bring in a defender. Unfortunately, I can't bring in a Chelsea defender not named Christensen because all of them are above 5.5 million. What defender pun do you guys like the most for this game week, if you don't mind me asking?
Let me have a quick look at the
Yeah.
fixtures again. I don't
I
remember the fixtures. One second.
I think if you can't afford a
Semedo.
Chelsea defender, then Semedo. Yeah, I was gonna come to that. Semedo is the one.
Cool. That's all I had. So that's
Because
where
in
I am
terms
with
of
my transfers
upside,
this
I don't
week.
see, because you want somebody with upside. I don't think anybody else you can find in that bracket who's that and a good fixture again.
Correct.
Did you already read out
Yeah.
your team fully?
Yes.
Cool. Bakar, you're up next.
And
No,
definitely
sorry, this is my team. This is my
99%. Just want to
Okay.
mention 99% wildcarding on Saturday itself. Looking forward to that.
Zoff, you copy my team every week. You almost forget when you look at your team as if
I
it's
know,
yours.
right? I know. I just look at it like, yeah, this is my team. I actually kept your team at the end because you wanted to discuss some wildcard possibilities for yours.
Yeah.
Usually we do yours first, but
Sure.
I've kept that for the end. So Sanchez in
Okay.
goal, Shaw, Trent, and Semedo. Greenwood, Sar, Salah, Rafinha, Benrahma midfield, Antonio, Ronaldo captain, White, and Ailing as subs. So likely transfer probably going to be Shaw to Alonso, if no other issues.
I like Shaw for
I
this
think you
game,
can
Zoff.
afford
I'll
to
tell
do
you
it.
that.
You can afford to do that.
I'll tell you, Zoph, though, I like Shaw for this game, especially
I
because
agree.
I'm expecting Everton to sit. So there's going to be a lot of crossing coming in from that side. He's going to be good for bonus as well. I just like him for this game. Just wanted to tell that.
Yeah, but I don't see anybody else, and I want Alonso. I think now's the right time before I wildcard to get him at least so I can.
In my head, the difference between Shaw and Alonso is potentially lesser than Lukaku and Ronaldo. Just something I
Something to
like Shaw
think
for this
about.
game because if
Yeah.
Everton are sitting back, the ball is going to go onto that left hand side, and it's going to be a lot of crosses coming on from that left hand side.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
Something to think about.
Zoff, you aren't going to sell Trent though, are you?
Trent,
chance,
not
I mean.
Trent was absolutely.
No
Trent
chance.
actually tends to do well against City, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of free kick goals. My
Yeah, I know.
memory, if my memory serves.
Trent is even if
me
he's
right.
injured, even if he's missing this week, I'll have White sub on or I'll do some sort of defensive.
Yeah, but you're
transfer.
planning to wildcard next week, no?
I'm undecided. I think how the
Okay.
weekends feel. Like I probably won't activate it right away on Saturday, like how Pranil will. I'll probably see how the weekend goes, see how the Champions League fixtures go, and I'll decide on Sunday.
All right, fair enough.
Your team up next.
I have Sanchez in goal. My defense is Shaw, Alexander-Arnold, and Rudiger. I've bought in for Simicas
Again
this
on
week.
a Saturday night. It's the third consecutive Saturday night transfer, right?
No, not on Saturday. I think I
Sunday.
did it on Sunday. Sunday, yeah. But I was gonna get rid of Simicas anyways, and I just wanted Rudiger, so he's in. In midfield, I have
Bakar, I
Benrahma.
read a tweet from you where you said, "Don't be trigger happy this week for Champions League games are pending."
Yeah, that was primarily targeted towards Shaw's owners, not towards Simicas owners like myself, who's dead wood, right? That's primarily targeted towards Shaw owners. I in fact wrote about the word injury. I know I wrote about injury news, right? With Simicas, he's just dead wood, so I just took the opportunity to sell him. Benrahma, Sar, Salah, Greenwood, Rafinha, Antonio, Ronaldo captain. In case Shaw is out, I have Dean on the bench, who's going to come in, but hopefully he won't be required because I'm sick of the sight of him, and I just want to get rid of him on my wild card
He hasn't
as
even
soon as
done that
possible.
bad for you. I think he's got to you what 2 clean sheets in 4 games.
Yeah, and including an own goal, including minus
No, but
one.
it's
That
not. It's not
put
that
me off.
bad for this much
Yeah,
level of hate.
I mean, he hasn't been that great, honestly. I had higher expectations from him. Like he's given me 12 points over 4 fixtures. That's nothing too special.
Nothing too
But
special, but
anyways, this is my
nothing.
team, and I was wondering what you guys would suggest if Shaw is out. Let's assume that Shaw is out, because if Shaw is fit, then this team is pretty straightforward, and I don't see it changing. But if Shaw is out, then would you guys advise me to wildcard?
Let Dean
Because
Subin. No, let's say Dean Subin.
yes, so basically I'll have to play Dean, um, Benrahma, Greenwood.
But what if Trent and Shaw are out?
That this is it, right? That is when I don't think I have an option but to activate it, because I am not going to take a minus
I
four.
don't agree at all. You're looking at the wild card as too small a tool. It's ultimately just one player who
No,
will be
because
missing.
I'm
Who's going to be?
no
You have 11 of 10. You are talking about potentially only one player difference pushing you towards a wild card. I don't think that's enough of a triggering factor.
no Zoph. If two players are missing out and I have to take a hit, then I don't see the point in delaying the wild card when I'm supposed to make a very similar team next week as well.
I don't think your team will be very similar next week. That's the point I'm making. You won't have
Other
Benrahma,
than
you won't have Sarr, you won't have Greenwood, you won't have Ronaldo, you won't have, let's say,
No, he's
Sanchez.
saying very similar wildcard teams off.
exactly very similar wildcard team. Because
Correct,
my
but
wildcard team, if I wildcard this week and if I wildcard next week, won't be too different. That's what I'm saying.
no, but my point is you should be
Bakar, if
losing
you
out on fixtures for Benrahma, Sarr, and which are decent fixtures this week. And even Greenwood, you would say, is a decent fixture this week.
Yes, this is exactly why I haven't done it, because Benrahma and Greenwood have good fixtures this week, and Sarr has a good fixture as well. And those are three players I don't think I will have on wildcard. Not even Sarr. I don't think I'll have Sarr on
That is
wildcard.
exactly the point I was making. Maybe I didn't articulate it correctly, but that's exactly the point I was making.
and Bakar, if you do decide to wildcard this week, make sure you don't snook yourself out of City assets. I'd have at least 2 City.
Yeah, for sure. I have Diaz or one of Diaz or Cancelo are gonna
And
be
leave the
in
third
there
spot
at least.
open.
And
Leave a third spot open for City, whatever you do. Don't get like triple City defense or something like that.
No, no,
yeah, for sure.
no, because a lot of people who are wildcarding this week, they'll look at the Liverpool City fixture and maybe ignore a City spot because it's uncomfortable to play
Like
City.
how you mentioned with Ted yesterday. I remember you told Ted the same thing yesterday because he had double Chelsea and Trent just because of the immediate fixture.
Yeah, exactly. Look at City.
And,
Definitely
and
look
you know,
at
I have such a week bench that this week I was actually scouring through the Norwich forums, and the fans actually want Mohamed Ali to play.
As
Yeah,
if he's going to get you an
this is
avalanche of points anyway if he plays or not.
hopefully
That is scraping the
he will
bottom.
come in with a mega one pointer this week.
But I'll tell you what, we've all been there. When we're so desperate, we've been on forums for all kinds of
Yeah.
things. We are looking for any sort of string that we can look for, any sort of confirmation bias. That's what makes the game. I actually quite enjoy that when we're doing that peacefully. in our
Yeah,
rooms.
this is the best part about FPL, isn't it?
Yeah.
I personally quite enjoy it.
Yep. All right.
But hopefully, fingers crossed, at least one of Shaw or Trent will be fine. And if that's the case, then I'll hold on to the wild card.
Right. Let's move on to the Q&A. We'll give it 5 minutes before we shut the stream. Thank you, Isaf Paul Sagu, for your question. LM, let me know your thoughts on a 2-game week plan with a -8 hit. Game week 7, Trent Bamford to Rudiger Lukaku. Game week 8, Jota Masal to Cancelo Saka. I have Reese and CR7 in the team too. Just wildcard, I would say. And
how do you know he's not used his wildcard already?
I mean, if you don't have your wildcard, use the wildcard. And what do you think of the transfers?
Have your wildcard, use your wildcard. That didn't make any sense.
If you have the wildcard, use your wildcard. But I wouldn't sell Trent for a hit. Let Trent play, but that's the only way he can get Lukaku. I like that -4 then. I just don't know how you can sell Trent though, because you'll want him back very soon.
Completely agree.
Don't sell Trent whatever you do unless we get any sort of confirmation that he's out for an extended period, which it doesn't look like right now.
Yeah, find another way to fund Lukaku. I don't like that move. I don't like losing Trent. And
Nikhil
Jota,
Suri.
Marcel to Cancelo, Saka is all right, but I just don't like the look of those moves. I don't like the look of those moves. Mm.
Right. Couple more super
If you
chats here.
want Lukaku, I just do Ronaldo to Lukaku. I think you take that gamble.
Right. Nikhil Suri
Yeah.
sent in a super chat. Top two Chelsea defenders to get for this run. So we've already discussed this in depth, Nikhil. I think we all had different opinions. I think it's pretty much. You said who? Christensen and?
I'd go with one defender and I'd go with one City defender on top.
Okay, so
Yeah.
top two Chelsea defenders, as per me, Alonso and Rudiger. And so, which two of Shaw, Duffy, Semedo would you sell for the two Chelsea defenders? I think Duffy is worth keeping just for value. Probably sell the other two.
And no, I think the Brighton's fixtures we discussed, right? Not
That's
for
true.
me.
I guess it depends.
Yeah.
If you got Duffy at like 4, and other, it's not just worth keeping. Like as a fifth defender, it's not
Exactly.
bad.
All right, fair shot.
As a fifth defender, Duffy's perfectly fine, I think.
Correct. Also, super chat from Albas89. Thank you. If you had two free transfers and set on wildcard in game week 8, would you punt and go Salah, Perica to ESR Lukaku to afford both Ronaldo and Lukaku and bring Salah next week? So basically, getting rid of Salah for a week.
I don't know. I don't know.
I won't do that personally.
It's pretty much, I think he's using Lukaku. I don't know who he's playing ahead of Perica because it says he's going Salah
And
to
it's
Perica to
wasting a
ESR for
transfer as well.
Lukaku. No, he's going to
If you want
wildcard.
Lukaku,
He's going to wildcard next week. So suddenly, just for 1 week, just get rid of Salah and use that money for
yeah,
Lukaku.
fair. Don't mind it.
It's not bad for 1 week punt at all, I think.
Yeah, don't mind.
Especially, I don't know who he's playing instead of Perica there because ultimately he says ESR comes in for Perica. I don't know who else he's playing there.
Yep, don't mind
Not a
it.
bad punt at all.
All right. Yeah, Mihir, exactly the question that Albas asked. Yeah, we don't mind it.
One more from Nikhil
Nikhil
Suri.
Suri.
Top two mids under 7 million. Also, we covered, I think, Saka and Rafinha.
I would probably go Rafinha and Gallagher, I think.
Yeah, I think you pick Rafinha and then you pick one from Saka, ESR, Gallagher.
From Ashwant Ramesh Super Chat. Ronaldo, Traore, Semedo out for Lukaku, Gallagher, Cancelo for -4. I already have DSR. This doesn't appeal to me this week because I like the fixtures for Traore and Semedo this week and Ronaldo as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, not for me as well.
And Cancelo is away to Liverpool, so I wouldn't do it.
Correct. It doesn't make sense for this week. I don't mind it for the week after though.
Yeah.
Nehal's asking our thoughts on Walker as a City asset. Nehal, I like all the other three City defenders more than Walker.
Yeah, the thing is, I've got Walker in Fantrax now, and he has zero almost attacking potential. So, because the Fantrax, you see everything else he does, he's pretty much a centre back playing as a full back. He has very little attacking upside.
Yeah, not for me.
What else?
Right. Is the stream lagging? If I'm not mistaken, it's a little bit laggy.
Is it?
I think we can.
Yeah,
I think we can
should
cut
be
it
fine.
short now.
Cool.
We've pushed for 93 minutes, guys.
Let's wrap up.
All right. We'll see you next week, guys. We don't know if we're going to be podding next Tuesday. Watch out for us on Twitter. We'll let you know when we guys are podding. And good luck with your moves. And see you soon. Take care, guys. Any last words, boys?
Nothing much. See you guys soon. Good luck. Enjoy the international break.
Take care,
We'll be
boys.
back with you
Take care.
soon.
Night.